As the 17th century Zen philosopher Basho said, a flute with no holes is not a flute. A donut without a hole is a Danish. Caddyshack is next. Seamless transition.
Welcome to the Bushwood Country Club. The membership's exclusive. You think I'd join this crummy snobatorium? The help is outrageous. Look. The madness is contagious.
Bad language, fooling around on the course, poor caddying.
What is whole place? Caddyshack, starring Chevy Chase as Ty Webb.
Who is that disgusting man?
A sportsman who really knows how to score.
So, what brings you to this nape of the woods, neck of the way? How come you're here?
Rodney Dangerfield as Al Servant, a big shot with an even bigger mouth. Hey, somebody step in a duck. Ed Knight as Judge Smales, a man of dignity and a sense of fair play.
I sentence boys younger than you into the gas chamber.
Michael O'Keefe as Danny Noonan, a caddy who wants an education and gets one.
You take drugs, Danny? Every day.
Cindy Morgan as Lacey Underall. She's got a bad reputation, and she's working hard to keep it.
You want to tie me up with some of your time?
And Bill Murray as Carl Spackler.
Just a harmless squirrel, not a plastic explosive or anything, nothing to be worried about.
He's not crazy about gophers, but he is crazy.
License to kill gophers by the government of the United Nations.
And introducing Mr. Gopher as himself.
I said freeze, gopher!
Caddyshack. It's all about swinging, but not on the course.
Hey, you want to make $14 the hard way?
Playing a good game
That's, oh, he got all of that one.
and talking a better one.
Hey, I should have stayed home and played with myself.
Taking shots
Oh, that was a bum shot.
and making time.
We couldn't possibly think less of each other.
Controlling your drives and losing your grip.
It is you out there. The man's a menace.
Caddyshack, the comedy with
balls.
Welcome to another further review, the nostalgia tinge podcast about movies discussed and debated by three guys who love movies and sports. I'm Mark Condon, and I'm here with my co-conspirators, Eric Vogel and Ken Nanochi, and tonight we're discussing the classic Slobs versus Snobs golf comedy that is, in my mind, kind of one of the all-time greats, although when it came out, evoked a very lukewarm response. At the time in a review, Variety called it a vaguely likable movie comedy that falls short of the mark. Even now, Caddyshack is just ranked 71 in AFI's top 100 comedies. Airplane, which came out in the same year, 1980, great year for comedies, is ranked 10th. And what do you guys think? Is that a fair ranking? I love Airplane, but that's quite a gap. What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, first of all, I did a lot of prep for this, but at the same time, I've been prepping for a business review with our CEO, and I just got done that. I got home in time just to get changed, and you know, we were in there for 3 hours, and he wanted to review performance by region, and he said, "Hey, what's going on with New England and New York? What's up with those regions?" And I said, "Hey, llama, how about a little something for the effort?"
I was wondering where you were going with that.
Yeah. Inside
No,
joke, but very funny. Yeah.
Where does it rank? Man, that's a great question. And I actually have there are two sports writers, former sports writers in Philadelphia. And they used to have a radio show. The one guy's still on, but Ray Dininger and Glenn Macnow. And they did a book, Top 100 Sports Movies of All Time.
Mm.
Where do you think they had it ranked? of the top 100 sports movies. 9.
Oh,
9?
9.
what was
Wow.
a couple? What was ranked higher?
Oh, come on. What's number 1? Rocky.
Okay, good. That would have been mine. That would have been mine.
Hoosiers is 2,
Yeah.
Raging Bulls 3, The Naturals 4, Bull Durham 5, Slapshot, love Slapshot.
Yep.
Yeah.
6, Long Yard 7th, and The Hustler was 8th. But 9th.
This was 9th? That
9th.
leaves a lot of really good
Yeah.
movies behind
And-
it.
Yeah, and I don't agree one bit. So we can get into all that, but I don't know, Ken,
Yeah.
what do you think?
I agree. I was, I hadn't seen it all the way through in a while, and I do remember, getting a big kick out of it the first time I watched it. I've seen bits and pieces of it since, but watching it straight through again, I don't rate it that high. I mean, there's some funny parts. To me, it's almost like a bunch of skits being tied together,
Exactly.
Yeah.
as opposed to a movie like those 8 movies you mentioned right now.
Yeah.
It doesn't even come close. And like I said, I'm sure if we think about it, there's a bunch of movies that come after that this wouldn't even come close to touching either. So I do feel it. I loved it. It was enjoyable, but I don't put it all the way up there.
Mark, what did you say? It was 70 what on the all-time
71st out of 100 comedies.
comedy?
Comedies.
Not even
Comedy.
sports movies. Well, that's pretty high for comedies, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, but some of the movies above that are actually there's like 3 Woody Allen movies. Some of his early Woody Allen, We'll Take the Money and Run and
movie.
Bananas are both ranked higher than Caddyshack.
I want to know what's behind Caddyshack. Do you know?
Yeah, I'll look up. Yeah, right. So you mentioned, Ken, the sequences, right? It just seems like a lot of like little skits and put together. And there was this sort of, the movie was supposed to be totally different. It was supposed to be about a triangle love affair between Danny and Tony and Maggie. And then these 4 stars, the Rodney Dangerfield, Ted Knight, Chevy, and Bill were so great. They had to find some way to put that together, to sort of accent that, but then still tie the movie together. And that's where the gopher came, to tie it all together, which is, we'll talk later, really doesn't tie it all together. So to your point, Eric, Caddyshack 71, 72 is Mr. Blandings Builds His Dream House, 1928. Monkey Business, 1931. 9 to 5, 1980, same year. She Did Him Wrong, 1933. Who knows what that is? Victoria, 1982.
Wait, this is
Freshman, 79. Oh,
who
that's
did
that was
this?
the first. That's the first one, actually. Excuse me, not the redo with Matthew Broderick and
Brando.
and
Who did
Branda.
this? This list?
This is AFI, American Film Institute. So
Oh,
They
okay.
suck.
yeah, yeah. So, so to go back to this, though, the sketch like kind of the way they sort of stitched it together, was directed by a first-time director, Hale Ramis. We'll talk more about him. Largely based on Brian Doyle Murray's, Bill's brother, recollection as a caddy at a Ritchie golf course in Illinois, but creatively it was driven by Doug Kenny, who founded National Lampoon magazine. Remember that magazine cover where they had the gun to the dog's head, buy this magazine. And he co-wrote Animal House and the blockbuster from 78. Caddyshack's supposed to be the follow-up to Animal House, but obviously disappointed, as we're talking about. It was that year did $39 million, the 17th biggest movie that year, just after Cheech and Chong's next movie. And also, we talked about a little bit tepid reviews. A lot of critics compared it to stale situation comedy. But over the years, gained a great audience, and clearly, as we'll discuss and when we get to the categories, it's kind of part of our vocabulary. So that leads into, I guess you've already sort of made your point, Ken. Like, I mean, has your opinion of the movie really changed since you first watched it?
As I mentioned, it did. I mean, when I think back on the movie, one of the things I always think back is Rodney Dangerfield. I thought he's,
Mhm.
and we'll talk about that as we move on.
Yeah.
Even watching that, I guess maybe a lot of it was stand-up that I had seen many times since then. So the first time around, a lot of those jokes, now I know why tigers eat their young. You must have been big before electricity. They were hysterical at the time. And, but we've heard them so many times since. I think that's part of the problem is it's a lot of this we've heard so many times now. It's just become, part of just what we're used to.
It's almost you've heard it too many times, and it's kind of lost a little bit luster.
Mm-hmm.
Eric, you're the golfer of the three of us.
Yeah, so this when this came out, I was 15, and I can't even remember where I saw it. I don't know if I saw it in the movie theaters. It was also at the same time, right around 1980, cable was coming out. I think we had cable back then, and so there were only certain movies that they had limited supply, and I just can't remember where I saw it. And it was one of those things at the time that the skits were, they were funny, right? Because it's sophomoric and you're 15 years old.
Yeah.
Like that is funny, kid picking his nose and eating his booger, and all that stuff is hilarious at 15. And not that it isn't now, but it was just never part of my it wasn't part of my rewatch playlist when it came on TV. I didn't jump to go see it, but I watched it twice over preparing for this Friday and Saturday night. And I watched it with my wife on Saturday night, and she's just like rolling her eyes, like, oh my God, how are you guys going to talk about this? Because it really is just a set of skits. And but the thing is that, so you asked the opinion change, and I would say yes or no, because I'm still not enamored with it, but I am absolutely amazed, having gone back, how many quotes that I use today from that movie, just in different situations, and we'll talk about those. But this is like a favorite of Tiger and Jack Nicklaus and Phil Mickelson. But one of the things that Dittinger and Mac now say is that every weekend hacker adores Caddyshack and has memorized dozens of classic lines from the film. In fact, we can't think of a single movie this side of The Godfather that has so influenced the vernacular of the American man, which I think is true. And it's funny, the first podcast being the Godfather, and we talk about all the quotes. But going back to golf, when I watched this, I didn't really get into golf until like the last few years. And I think if I had been a golfer at the time, it may have resonated differently for me. So all these years that it's been out, I just wasn't really into much about, I just didn't play golf that much. I didn't really enjoy it. Now I absolutely love it. And so when I watch it from the perspective of a golfer, it takes on a whole new meaning to me. There's a line in there we'll go to with Bill Murray when he's talking to Chevy Chase that is absolutely hilarious when I think about it. So, I haven't really gotten, I don't know if my kids have seen it. My kids are all really good golfers. They really enjoy it. And I think as I said, I think if I had been a golfer as I am now, I stink at golfing, by the way, but I love the game. Had I really been into it then when I saw this, I think the movie would have taken on different meaning for me.
I wonder though, if part of the appeal is the lexicon, the language, the quotes, the Noonan. I mean, I didn't even, that was
absolutely,
I didn't even realize that came from that movie until
that's what a lot of people say. I know.
Noonan. But I also do wonder, is that leaning into that it's just a series of skits and improv, so much
A lot
improv
of improv, a lot of
is
improv.
what
Yep.
kind of makes it, to me, kind of step that kind of level above. Again, we're gonna get to we'll get the categories in a minute, but the Dalai Lama scene, the Cinderella scene, it was just a couple of 2 lines in the script. They just gave the setup to Bill Murray, and he just went. And the Lama, he's a big hitter,
Yeah.
He's a
Big hitter, the llama.
big hitter, the
Yeah.
llama. The flowing robes. It's just amazing that he was able to. So related to that, so the scenes, and I'm going to step on best scene category is, and you were nodding there about the improv. Ken, did that? Knowing that now, that's how they operate a lot. Like Harold Ramis would just whisper something to someone. The Cinderella scene is that he just
Yep,
said,
yep.
apparently just whispered. Does that help you, thinking about that's how it came together? Does that change your opinion a little bit or influence it?
It does. I do appreciate the amount of improv. Like you said, the Cinderella story. He just asked for a couple of rows of flowers, and he would
Yeah.
take it from there, which is what he
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
I think the scene with Ty and Lacey with the tequila and that
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
massage scene. There was a
Yeah.
lot of improv going on there, so I do appreciate it for that kind of.
Yeah.
There is a lot of
Yeah.
really interesting going off script going on, which I love
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
that from that aspect, I think that is an area, and I do talk about that later, where I do appreciate it more from that
Yeah.
area. So
Yeah.
when the first time I watched it, it was strictly a comedy. For me, it was like, okay, this is coming after Animal House. It's National Lampoon. Let us see what they come up, because I love Animal House, and that's if I had a
Yeah.
#1 comedy that without giving much thought, I would have it like
Yeah.
right around #1. I'm curious where it is on that list, Mark. But so I did go for the comedy at first, but I think that's where I got a new appreciation when you saw some of the other things that were going on in this movie.
Right.
I,
Yeah.
I agree. The knowing that it was all, so much of it was improvised, watching it this time around and having, researched a little bit, knowing that most of it was improvised, it truly takes on a different kind of element to me.
Yeah. Yeah. 36, Ken. So kind of
36 for Animal House?
Yeah, halfway between.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
I don't agree with it.
I told you AFI sucks. It's got to be.
It does.
We're banning AFI from the podcast going
Yeah, don't
forward.
use them in your research anymore.
Right. Usually so good in this case. Yeah, the improv stuff when he is so good. Yeah, he apparently Ramis has said to Cindy Morgan as Lacey, and just said, tell him to sing you a long love song, and he does a song, and then she blows the bubble. Like, she doesn't even know this is really happening. The cameras were running. It went to that extent. Then that's why she blowed the bubble, pop the little bubble gun. And then when he spills the oil on her and she's, oh, you're crazy. And he goes, yeah, that's what they said about the son of Sam.
Great line. That's a great line.
All right. Well, let's
By the way, not to we all love Bill Simmons. And so part of my research when I was, funny enough, playing golf by myself on Sunday, and I walked the course.
Friends.
Yeah,
It's
pretty true, Ken. I don't, especially golf friends. But if I don't play with my kids, I don't play with anybody. But
I'd like to know what that commentary was whilst you were playing.
Well, so I played their podcast of this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
While I was walking on the course, and he opens up that podcast by saying he had written an article. So this is probably podcast, I don't know how many years old. It's not that old, but he says he wrote an article about 12 years ago that if he could have taken one movie to a deserted island, it would be this movie.
Yeah.
He once wrote that. And I thought, you gotta be
Yeah.
kidding. Like, I respect this guy, but man, his movie's got it.
That's a good question for a future podcast. What would that movie be?
The Deserted Island movie, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, there's no electronics or electricity on this deserted island, so it's not going to do you much good.
There's a generator. There's a generator.
All right. So yeah, because next thing I was going to talk about, but let's just get to the categories, and we'll start with best scene. And I cobbled together three because, as you pointed out, Eric, in the pre-show meetings, that there's more quotes and lines and scenes, but I did come up with three, and I'll be interested to hear what you guys have to say. First one I identified was Rodney in the clubhouse getting his friend outfitted for golf. That hat is so bad. You should get a bowl of soup.
That's good.
Looks good on you though. 'Cause- and then I cobbled together Cinderella story plus him caddying for the bishop. I don't think the hard stuff coming down for a while.
Yeah, that's right.
And then the final one, Ty playing through Carl's apartment at night. So
Yep.
those are my three. What would you say? What have I missed as far as the scene? Eric or Ken?
Okay. I do like Rodney at the reception where he just insults everybody in the room,
The dinner. Yeah.
calling it the dance of the living dead. I think that's Rodney at his best in that one. And, that's
Yeah.
where it's about $14 the hard way, and you must have been
Yeah.
big before the lights. So that I do like that scene a lot.
Yeah.
The scene that I referred to a little bit earlier with Ty and Lacey, the tequila scene, again, for the same reason, the amount of improv that went in. And it was, I thought it was a very funny scene.
Yeah.
The whole thing with the oil, very good. You just referred to a little bit the scene with Ty and Carl, Chevy Chase and Bill Murray. It's a great scene to be, on the surface, it's a great scene, but when you know about all of the history there with them, where they came to blows backstage at SNL a couple of years before that, and it's the only time in a whole movie that they're on screen together, just the two of them. I really do like that scene. I think they did a really good job with it, and it just, again, knowing the background, it made it a little bit even more poignant.
Yeah, the different spice to it. Yeah. Apparently, Bill Murray, when they got pulled apart when they were fighting at Saturday Night Live, he yells down the hallway to Chevy Chase, "Medium talent."
I remember, I heard about that.
Which I think is like the
It's a great
greatest kind of diss. How about you,
But
Eric? What other?
And I think one last thing. I think when you look at all of these things, what you just referenced, what we referenced here, the SNL, you got to remember there was a lot of alcohol and drugs involved in so much of this, and it can't be
particularly
overlooked.
cocaine in this film.
Yeah, that's one of the things that you probably
Yeah.
didn't talk enough about or mention
Yeah.
up front. It's just that, the history of the thing is that they were all coked out of their mind for 10 weeks.
Yeah. They were taking all their per diems in cash. So that's not good. Eric, I interrupted you.
I love the Dalai Lama scene.
Yeah.
And I mean the scene, what's it last? 25 seconds.
Yeah.
I love that. The sophomore humor in me, because I remember when it came out, the scene that just I always think of is the Baby Ruth scene in the pool.
Yes.
With Jaws theme and and then Mary at the end, eats the Baby Ruth. It's all good.
It's all good.
I thought that was great, but there's this one that you have to pay attention for it. When Danny's caddying in the beginning, Lacey's walking with him, and he's trying to brown nose the judge, to get the scholarship. And they're playing with the bishop, and the bishop putts in, and he goes, "Put me down for a 5."
Yeah.
And he looks over at the one caddy, and he goes,
I have used that line a million times.
Yeah.
And that's usually on a part 3. I'll say, put me down for a 5. So.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and then it's similar to that sequence when he's talking to the bishop. I've always wanted to consider, stop by the church. He said, "Oh, you're Catholic."
Catholic,
oh,
yeah.
You
can't come. Sorry.
Sorry, you can't come. Yeah, you can't come. So what's the favorite of all 5? I think we did 5 or 6. What stands out?
I like the scene when the Reverend's playing golf. And just, it's, because everybody who's played golf has been there, not so much with the rain, but just you're having the greatest round ever. And because we always come around with my kids whenever we're just going to play 9. And if somebody were to get a hole in one on a par three, it's like, now we got to play 18 to make it official. You know, it's just
Yep.
like, if you're having that great of a round, you just
Right.
can't quit no matter what.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Yep.
I love that scene.
Yeah. Ken?
That's I'm gonna go back to the Baby Ruth. That's one that has always stuck
Yeah.
with me over the years. Like I said,
Right.
the whole way it was filmed, it was on water level, like
Yeah.
the Jaws, it's like, so they're
Yeah.
filming it that way. And
Right.
and it turns out that scene was inspired by something that happened in Brian Doyle Murray's high school. So
Yeah.
there's some truth
Yeah.
behind it as well. So
I heard
I,
about
I
that.
think of all the scenes, when I think back on it, that's probably the one that comes back probably immediately, is obviously the Baby Ruth scene.
Yeah. And he's in the hazmat suit, like it's just down there. And then the judge's wife is there observing this. Like,
Yeah.
why is she there? And then she passes out when he takes a bite. I mean, it's just the silliest thing. So for me, it is is Ty golfing through at night, because it's sort of like that friction of these, like you were saying, Ken, these two talents, and and Bill is doing his act, and Chevy it's like fastball after fastball after fastball, the two of them back and forth. It just is incredible. I know you wanted to talk about it too, Eric, but the the character that Bill Murray does as Carl was the character he created at Second City to
Yep.
audition for Saturday Night Live. Hunker was his name.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then does this amazing character, but Chevy Chase was so great. The pool, the pond, it was like completely improvised. So that's what
And
I
his line, how I'm expecting a lot of deliveries, when he was
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah.
something to that effect. I'm expecting a lot of things to be delivered.
But I give credit issues because, assistant
Yeah.
greenskeeper doesn't really count for much, but I'm
Right.
working my way up to be head greenskeeper.
Head greenskeeper for 5 years.
Right. Right. Yeah. So where do you live on? He's asking for the address. Where is that? Yeah, just get weird.
You're into best lines now, Mark.
Yeah. So let's
I know.
start there. Yeah. So well, that is the thing about, I think, to me, what's good about this movie is the scenes and the best lines, they merge together. So Eric, why don't you
Actually,
start?
that's what the movie is. It's actually a
Yes.
bunch of comedy lines that are filmed.
Mhm.
Yeah. Right.
There is zero
Improv.
plot to this movie. There's no, it
Right.
It
makes
was the
zero
scholarship.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
right. I
caddy
guess that's
scholarship.
it. The kid's got to get a caddy
Yeah. Well, before we go to best lines, and apparently it was supposed to be this about the caddies, their lives, and this love triangle between Danny and Maggie, and Tony. And that's why I always wondered why when Maggie and Danny are in the room and Tony's running, but that's he's jumping up, but that's why apparently there was supposed to be this romance. So all right, so best line. Eric, why don't you go first? What are we talked a lot of them. So what else?
So I wrote that right. The best lines are like just like Noonan.
Yeah.
Just stuff like that. Be the ball.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, so they're not really. So I wrote down a bunch of just words because and we can come to that, but the heavy. I don't think the heavy stuff is going to come down for a while.
Yeah.
But there is one line that again, now understanding golf a little bit, when Ty and Carl are in the room together, and Ty says, "Oh yeah, I've got this golf match tomorrow with Judge Smales," and Mary takes out this little knife and he says, "Oh, Judge Smales," he says, "they're real easy. Just cut his hamstring."
Yeah, I know.
He won't, he won't be able to just shift his weight to the front and just go off to the right. And I, not knowing anything about golf, that line just kind of, all right, he's going to cut his hamstring. This guy's a freak, he's a weirdo. But now that I was thinking about it, it's like, yeah, you're right. He won't be able to transfer his weight to his front foot, and the ball's just going to go off to the right. I thought that was really funny. Apparently he just made that up right on the spot.
Ken.
Go ahead, Ken.
Yeah. You have what stands up for you?
And it's funny, like Eric's mentioning how I wasn't a golfer then, but a lot of this stuff has worked its way into when I do play golf now. I think I should have yelled 2 instead of 4 when he. I've used that line. I should have yelled 2 when he hit him right between the legs, and I've used that line many times. I always find this funny, and I should be insulted by it, but for Italians, caddying is considered skilled labor.
Yeah.
And the other one I got a kick of, I'd never got a kick out of it before until I was at the home office last week. And the one where they're drinking, he said, how about a Fresca? I haven't had a Fresca in years till I was at the home office last week and had a Fresca. I don't even know they
Really?
made that stuff anymore.
They-
Yeah. I love it. I loved it. I got to get some for
They
here
have Fresca there?
at the home.
Oh yeah, listen. When I first started there, they had them 10 years ago, and I got there and Keel's like, hey, you want a Fresca? I think it was from the movie, and I didn't pick
Yeah.
up. It was, hey, you want a Fresca? And I'm like, Fresca? Who the hell drinks Fresca?
Yeah.
And now it's like a delicacy. Like every
Yep.
now and then, man, I need a Fresca.
So-
Yeah, so we have Mark. We have see what you're missing. We have,
Yeah.
Fresca. And it's
So
hey,
it took,
it's free.
it took on new significance after my trip to the home office. So yes, how about a Fresca?
How about a Fresca? Yeah. So you'll get nothing and like it. Well, I got this line that how many times you said that you'll get nothing and you'll like it. So I got that going for me.
Yep.
Noonan, as I mentioned. The other thing I in the research, when he's doing that, this is not really a line, but when Chevy's doing the putting scene and he goes, nah, nah, nah.
Yes, I had that.
Yeah, that sound
I
effect
used
was
it all the time. All
Right.
still
Yep.
to this day, shooting pool, whatever.
Yeah.
No, no.
How they came up, Chevy came up with that sound was the sound effect from the $6 million
You
Man.
know what, Mark? I never knew that, but when you said that you started to say it, I'm like, that's from the $6 Million Man.
Yep.
That's
Yeah,
exactly
yeah.
what it is. Yeah.
So what's their favorite? It's so hard.
I had
Yeah, what else did you have there?
scratch my anchor. I use that all the time
Oh, you
when,
scratched my ankle.
like if somebody, when something big on somebody, like if somebody drops their phone and their
Mhm.
phone breaks, but it, left a nick on my notebook. I'm like, hey, you scratch my ankle, I don't use this because I don't do this, but I can't tell you how many times did someone step on a duck? It's in the hole, right? That's
Yeah.
that's on the golf course. It's a hole. Cinderella story. Oh, but it looks good on you.
Yeah.
And then the last one that has become pretty well. Wait, I'll give you 2 more. One more before that. And it's going to go back. I'll come bring it up later. But Lacey showing up at Ty's place and says, I tried to find you, but they couldn't tell me where Mr. Wonderful lives
Right. Not in the phone book or something.
Spelling,
Right?
yeah,
Right.
Mr. Wonderful wasn't in the phone book because what spelling did you use? But
What
the
spelling?
one that is used all the time for a lot of stuff is, well, we're waiting. Anyway, that's
Yeah. You could do a whole, well, we'll talk about this in a little bit about favorite characters. So this does remind me of when she goes into his apartment, his house, and she said he finds a check for 70.
Yeah.
There's an on-cat. Apparently, Doug Kenny, that he literally, that's how he lived his life. They would find blank checks for $60,000-$70,000. He made so much money off National Lampoon and Animal House. He would literally have these checks that were uncashed around his house for 50,
Really?
60, yeah.
Well,
I'm
that
sure you're not surprised by that, Eric. That's the Vogel household now.
Yeah.
that actually comes into play later under
Okay. Yeah.
stadium gripes. for me.
Okay. So let's move to favorite character.
Oh wait, we didn't pick. What was the favorite?
Oh yes, no. Yeah. What is
Mine
the
is
favorite?
mine is the llama, the big hitter, the llama.
Big hitter
It'll
llama.
stiff me, and I say, "Hey, llama, I bet a little something for the effort."
Yeah. Ken?
Yeah. I like that llama line myself. But I guess I have to pick one with Rodney Dangerfield. So I think he must have been something before electricity. I'm gonna go with that.
Not
I
you
love
want
Rod.
14 bucks the hard
I
way.
know.
Right. And so I do love that llama speed, yes, and then the end. And so I got that going for me.
That's probably the best part of that thing.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
got that going for me.
So what was yours, Mark?
I think it's that. It's that. It's so I
The
got
llama.
that going for me. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So favorite character. Can start with you this time.
Surprisingly, I
Hmm.
really, after rewatching this and watching it now, I
Okay.
really liked the Ty character, Chevy Chase. And I'm not
Okay.
a big Chevy Chase. I think this was probably his favorite character that he's played in I just liked the style of his character, the way he was. He didn't care. So I'm going a little bit different, saying that he turned out to be my favorite character watching it this time.
Okay. Eric?
I had, and again, I never appreciated it, and it probably just is because I'm older and understanding things a little bit better, acting and things like that. I just think Judge Smales was absolutely the best character in the whole movie.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, just all the facial expressions and the eye rolls and
I that's what I started to say, is that you could do like a best lines just for Jess Smales, the Fresca, the you get nothing and like it. I had some other I sentenced boys younger than you to the gas chamber. Didn't want to, but I just I felt I owed it to them, right? The waiting, the Fresca, his poem. So really good. I would the other, and I agree with both of those. I would actually sort of have chosen Ty as well, just because I think he ties it as much as possible together. However, to go off measure, I would sort of, with an asterisk, also nominate Lou Loomis, the Brian Doyle Murray, the guy running the Caddyshack, the gambling problem, and you owe me one gumball machine, what's that candy wrapper do?
He wrote this, right?
Yeah,
he co-writer.
He was a co-writer, yeah. And it was apparently, the story is that Kenny and his producing partner was at Orion, and they were trying to pitch a movie to follow up Animal House, and they pitched us like thing about it, like an extraterrestrial kind of comedy, and they're like, no, and they said, well, how about a golf comedy? And they said yes, and then they called Brian Doyle Murray and said, hey, by the way, would you mind if we did your idea? They kind of semi stole the idea from him, but then they brought him in. So
yeah, apparently somebody wanted to do like a comedy about neo-Nazis in Illinois or something.
Yes.
Some weird stuff.
Yes.
During Skokie and all of that.
Yeah.
But
apparently drugs may have been involved.
That's the theme throughout this movie. No, I was gonna say, apparently the Danny Noonan's family was based on the Murray family.
Yeah.
That it was the big large Irish Catholic family. And I was waiting.
I grew up in that house. We had nine people in my house growing up with one bathroom.
Right.
So that scene in the beginning,
I was every day.
I lived that, man.
Right. Yeah. And the dad talking to the guy like, do I know you?
I know you. Who is this guy? Your nephew.
Yeah, the nephew. All right. Yeah.
What are we running, a bed and breakfast?
Right? Exactly.
That's great.
So I go with Judge Smails as well. I just as my favorite, just because there's so many, because he was sort of the straight man in a way to all of these shenanigans. That
And
was
he's such
really
a
good.
dick,
Yeah.
but he pulls it off. Like
Yeah.
yeah, I thought he was,
Yeah.
for all the characters that in a comedy,
Yeah.
Murray and Chase and Dangerfield, and
Yeah.
just, you think that they're going to be, but
Yeah.
the guy to be the dick, to be the favorite characters,
Yeah. Yeah.
he was great.
And
Don't
apparently
you have a
he got
home?
Don't
I'm
you
sorry, Ken.
know?
Don't
no,
you
I
have
was,
a home?
I was saying apparently he got fed up though at the on the scene on the set
Yeah.
with a lot of the shenanigans that were going on with Dangerfield and Chevy Chase and Bill.
Yeah.
So I guess there was some of that, it was really
Real
not
tension.
acting. He was
Yeah.
at that point with some of them.
Okay. Yeah, like he was sort of the straight guy. The rest of them were like doing drugs and improv and everything, and he was like married to, like Tyler Moore. You do the script,
Yeah.
so
He'd go out to dinner nights, just he want to have a nice dinner, and just kind
Yeah.
of, and and the rest of them were just all coked out.
yeah. So least a favorite character.
That's
Eric,
it. Well, I have two. I can't tell
Okay.
which one I hate more. And I think they're going to be yours too, right? Maggie's terrible.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
just terrible.
Yeah.
And not so much as an actress, but just the character is terrible.
Yeah. Right.
The one I don't mean to steal it from you guys, because I can't believe there anybody else other than these two, but that gopher ruins the entire movie. I
Yes.
hate that gopher. And the thing that drives me nuts is I found out that the people responsible for my favorite movie, Jaws, the people that created the Bruce the Shark, the animatronics,
Yeah.
they were also the ones responsible for that
The
gopher.
gopher. Yeah.
oh,
It's heartbreaking to read that.
Like weeping. I can't believe this.
No!
No. Make it not so. Ken, what do you have anything else?
definitely the Gopher, without
Yeah.
it, not even close second. The interesting thing is the noise that the Gopher makes was actually the noise that Flipper made on the television show, which I found that interesting because I used to love Flipper. The Maggie character I agree with, but I think she was more heartbreaking with her whole backstory, with the situation that she in real life ended up with.
Oh, in
So
real life.
Oh
in real
yeah,
life,
for
yeah,
sure.
where
Yeah.
drugs and alcohol and erratic behavior even on the set. I see her as more of a sympathetic person, so I go
Yeah.
right to the
We're
goal.
talking characters, Ken, not the
Yeah,
I know,
yeah.
but I can't
Enough of this.
separate that.
Enough of this empathy for others. Okay?
It's so unlike me.
That's a different podcast, Ken.
He's a
Yeah.
wonderful human being with a tragic backstory, but the character sucked.
Right. Well, it's just the whole pregnancy subplot, and then all of a sudden
Yep.
it was a big thing, and then it's gone. It's like,
Yeah.
I guess that's one of my gripes.
That's one of my
So,
gripes too. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So, MVP, best.
Mark, you go. We're always jumping on, in front of
Yeah.
you.
Oh, in this one I did go with Ty Webb and Chevy Chase, just because, again, I think just for that reason, it just ties everything together. As I said, I love that scene with he and Bill Murray, and yeah, I think it's just he for as little it is tied together. Ty does tie it together, unintended, unfortunately. So yeah, I would give him the best performance, although not most memorable for sure.
Kenny,
Yeah.
Mine's Rodney Dangerfield. I love Rodney. I
Mhm.
know, we could look at it different ways, but I think if you look at it, Bill Murray did a great job with this, but and there are a lot of memorable lines, but for me, it was always Rodney Dangerfield. I remember him standing out as much as anybody else. So I'm going to go with Rodney.
Mhm.
I had,
Go ahead, Ken.
yeah,
Go
I'm
ahead,
sorry.
Eric.
I
Yeah.
had, I have Ty in a different category, but I Ted Knight, Judge Smails.
Yeah.
I just, he is to me the best part of that movie. And he's probably in it the most. I hadn't really thought about it, but
Oh, that'd be,
he's
yeah.
everywhere, right? Murray is only in it a little bit. Chevy Chase is only in it, bits and pieces. I guess Michael, what's his Michael?
O'Keefe. Yeah,
Okay.
Michael
Yep.
O'Keefe, who's married to Bonnie Raitt, by the way, or was
Yep.
married.
was, yeah.
Yeah, he's probably in it the most, but Ted Knight's character, Judge Smales, was, to me, just was totally the MVP. of the
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah. See, I was splitting the vote, like best MVP and then best offensive player, how they do in the NFL. Give me MVP.
Do you have to
best
be on a
offensive-
winning team for the MVP, or can you be the best? And
Exactly,
Yeah.
right.
Always goes to
Right.
a quarterback anyway.
Yeah, always go with the quarterback, yeah. So drop the ball. Worst performance. Ken, who do you got? You're shaking your head.
Yeah, I just couldn't get into the Danny Noonan character. Was
Oh,
not invested.
really?
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I
that's
know
a
he's-
hot take, man.
That is
Yeah.
a hot take.
I mean,
Explain.
the whole thing with the with the scholarship and that. I mean, so there was a story there, but did he
Yeah.
stand out compared to all
Yeah.
of these other? And again, he was in a bad situation. You got Chevy Chase and Bill Murray and Rodney Dangerfield and Ted Ted Knight. So it was hard, but I don't know, that character just did nothing for me. And it's funny, he's been in two of my favorite series as many years later, being in Homeland and Winning Time on HBO as an adult actor, but he just did nothing for me in that movie.
Wow.
What is he
Yeah.
doing? Is he in Winning Time, the second season?
Jack Kent Cook, the other owner of the second season.
Okay, because I haven't seen the second season. I know
Yeah.
he wasn't in
Yeah.
first. I don't remember
No,
him.
Jack Kent Cook.
All right, but wait, are you talking actor or character?
Just a little of both. I
And
just
we're
didn't
gonna
think-
get paid for this at some point, so you got to be really clear.
Yeah,
on-
I don't think he. Again, maybe he just was dwarfed by the other characters in the movies. We're making a lot of money on this.
Workshopping
You really got to
Workshopping.
raise your game if we're going to be making money on this thing.
Yeah. Well, every
Using actor
podcast team
as-
has a weak link. So that is a tough one because the story of the Irish guy and he's getting the thing
Yep.
and he's gonna win the caddy tournament and he makes the putt. Yeah. So
Yeah, but is there anything when he does that when he's on scene on the screen with Ty or with any that he just says, okay, that he's the one that stole that scene? I don't see it happen.
No, but I think he holds his own. But I mean, he's in
Yeah.
the movie like 80% of the movie. So,
See,
like when I think of
that,
Yeah,
and
I'm
that's what I'd
curious.
say too, holding his own, like that scene with all those scenes with Chevy, he's holding his own. He's not standing out, but he's okay. We all have to,
I don't know.
Yeah,
we
I'm
should-
curious to hear yours.
it's going
Let's
in the
hear yours.
file. Yeah. All right, Eric, not Michael O'Keefe for you.
So I always forget, is this the worst performance or the worst character?
Worst performance. Drop the ball.
All right. Well, I guess it goes hand in hand. Maggie, every time she's on the screen, I
Yeah.
care less.
Yeah.
This is not it for all the women in my life. This is not a sexist comment.
Right.
If you watch the movie, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
You're a highly evolved person.
Yeah, talking about hurt jokes, with a baby Ruth. Yeah, I'm highly involved.
Right.
Look at his
Yeah.
nose.
Yeah.
I just thought every time she was on the screen, I could care less.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the accent was horrible.
Yeah.
Probably the worst accent since Nadia from American Pie. It's like switched, and sometimes she had it, and you couldn't tell.
And she did a better job than I would have done. So I can't fault her.
Right. Yeah. I had Dr. Beeper. I know that's he's a
Oh,
small
that's
character.
another
like
hot take.
Yeah,
I like
I like Beeper a lot. He's
Right.
really.
I'll be there in 4 hours.
Yeah,
What's his
right.
name?
I hope it's
He
not.
goes, I'll be
real.
there. Oh, really? I'll be there in 30 minutes. And
30
he goes,
minutes.
oh, really? Oh, let's put a tube
4 or
down.
5 hours.
Right, I'll
Yeah.
be there in 4 or 5 hours.
I'd say he didn't have some good lines, but yeah, no, it wasn't just crazy. But and the gopher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was, I mean, it just, that was the MVP of bad performances, characters of any movie
Right. Yeah.
ever going to review.
All right, let's move to the QB categories. Jalen Hurts, coolest character. Eric, this is your.
I have a Ty Webb. I
Yeah.
thought he was just.
Yeah, I
find
think that's me too. Yeah.
As an aside, my father-in-law, God rest his soul, I loved him. Everybody always said he looked like Chevy Chase.
Oh, really?
Right. Yeah, when he was younger, and he really did. He just and he was this great athlete. Like he could play baseball, but he was a great golfer. And in fact, his nickname was Mr. Wonderful, which is just kind of funny. And it was before the movie. So I thought that was kind of ironic, but I thought as a character goes, he was just, it really is interesting to watch this now and to realize that Chevy Chase is everybody hates Chevy, right? Like everybody that comes in contact with him, no matter Parks and Recreation and all that stuff, there's always the stuff that comes out how much people hate Chevy Chase. And but you see him in this movie, you think this guy is off to be an unbelievable movie star, right? He was funny, he could play anything, just deadpan Mr. Cool Ty Webb, but then also the drunk, foolish Ty Webb, and he was really good looking too, and just his, they talk about trajectory of careers, man. Anyway, I thought he was the coolest person in the movie.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think that's me. It's insane. Tom Brady, trophy. You're shaking your head.
That's your character.
Yeah, that's mine. So I'll start. So I know our colleague, and you have a take on this, Eric. Our colleague Quentin Tarantino has a view about Bill Murray and Chevy Chase that we've talked about. So I would give the Tom Brady
which is you have to explain what Tom Brady Award is,
which is that actor whose career kept getting better and better.
Yep.
And this and I'm going to give it to Bill Murray for this reason. Here's the argument. He's sort of he's this cameo here, but after this, he does Stripes, Groundhog Day, Lost in Translation, and all of the Wes Anderson movies. It's just
Don't forget Ghostbusters. I mean, that was
Ghostbusters, right? Exactly. Yeah. So that's to me, but my point is that he became the star really after this, more so than Chevy, but then also kind of broadened how he did movies. So that's my Tom Brady Award, the actor who got better and better and better. Ken, who do you got? You're wearing a Michigan sweatshirt. Honor Tom Brady. Yeah.
Tom. Yeah. I don't think, I think the first two are pretty easy. I think, I agree with you 100%. Bill Murray, when you just look at, who would have thought, thinking back when we first saw that movie, of where he would end up. And I think a perfect example is Lost in Translation. What an underplayed part that he played and just really connected. I really, that one just blows me away. I love watching that movie just for his performance.
Yeah, he just some of the movies. Would you say they're the Wes Anderson movies? He really is. His career just absolutely took off. If you watch this movie, right, and not know anything, and you showed it to somebody and said, "Who in this movie was going to be a big star?" Nobody would have probably picked. And 40 years later, star and 40 plus years, I think people would have selected Chevy Chase over Bill Murray. His career is still relevant, and Chevy Chase, I mean, I think the next time I hear about Chevy Chase is he's going to be dead. But that does go to that Tarantino theory. In the movies that Bill Murray's character always starts out as the schlep, and usually through the movie, not in this one, right? Kind of something changes in him and he turns into a likable person or character. But Chevy Chase in most of his movies, he starts out as an ass and he ends as an ass. When Tarantino, I never thought of it that way. And I thought, oh my God, that's brilliant. What a brilliant take.
Right.
And why their careers just went in different directions.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. All right, Ken. So the Joe Namath Award, our Jets fan, the actor whose career peaked in
Yeah.
this.
As much as I hate this category, but I always have to answer it. So I went the easy way. I just said, and again, it's for the Maggie, whatever, Anna Holcomb, whatever her name is. I mean,
Oh,
obviously
Yeah.
Maggie. Yeah.
Sarah
Did I say
Holcomb.
so?
Yeah.
Yeah, Sarah Holcomb. Yeah, I mean, that's an easy one. That was her last movie, and because of, her breakdown, she never made another movie after that. So she had Animal House, she had this, and then sort of that was the end of it. So I'll go with her.
She's another category. Okay. Eric.
To me, I think it was Ted Knight, right? He had Mary Tyler Moore before this. Was Mary Tyler Moore still going on when this was around, or was it
I
had
don't
that?
think so.
This
No.
was after he left. This was his last movie.
Yeah.
No. He did Ladybugs.
He said this was his last movie.
No, I think
thought
he
in
did
my research, yeah.
Ladybugs, and then he did some cartoon where he was the voice of himself, something Dangerfield or oh no, I'm sorry. I'm getting my characters right.
Yeah, that was Rodney
He
Dangerfield
did,
did
yeah,
Ladybugs.
I
Yeah.
apologize. This was his last movie. He did there was a TV series where
Yeah.
he was
Yes.
the father of two girls.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
But outside of that, so to me, I just think his career like peaked right here. They kind of like Namath, right? He went to LA. So what's it? Namath had that Super Bowl year and then nothing, right? I think
Injuries.
he
A lot
had
of
like
injuries.
2 winning seasons
Yeah.
in his entire career. But one of them was, and to me, this is Ted Knight's Super Bowl. And then after that, just nothing.
Yeah. And that's it. But the Jets have been in the Super Bowl since then, Ken?
No, they haven't.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Thanks for clarifying that.
I
'Cause
just
I'm sure
wanted to.
a lot
Yes,
of people,
Mark,
a lot of people were wondering if they've been in the
Yeah.
Super Bowl since. Yeah.
But he does have his national championship for Michigan.
Yeah.
There you go. Go
Guy
blue.
from North Jersey wearing his
Go-
Michigan.
Right.
Go
Right.
blue.
Yeah. He's a good alumni of
Rider.
Michigan for sure.
What year did you graduate?
Yeah, what year? Ann Arbor's quite a
For
quite a
everybody
college.
listening to this, Ken was also an Alabama fan. He was a
Yeah.
Georgia
No, I've never
fan.
been that.
He was a South Carolina fan.
I am not a.
Clemson.
I
Yeah.
stick with
Oh,
my one
Clemson, yeah,
team.
not South
Yeah,
Carolina.
Clemson.
Sorry.
Yeah, in Ken's closet, it's got all these sweatshirts of the last 12 college
Got one of
football champions. Yeah, just
revolving,
rotating around.
yeah.
Yeah. So Ken, you're not gonna like this, but I put Rodney Dangerfield in this category. Even though he did do Back to School after this. I mean, you make a really great argument that he just exploded. And there's this great anecdote where Harold Ramis was like setting up for him to come out, to do the clubhouse scene, and he
Right.
yelled action.
Oh yeah.
Action. So finally he had to say, Rodney, do your bit. Okay. And then he comes out and does the whole thing. So yeah, I mean, again, Back to School was pretty good.
Easy
but I'm gonna
Money. Did you ever see Easy Money? Easy Money is a great movie. Where he's
Yeah.
got to like give up gambling, drinking, and smoking
Yeah.
for 1 month to get all his like
Yeah.
millions of dollars. And
Yeah.
him, Joe Pesci is in that movie. Great movie. That was in '83, so it was definitely after this. So
I think that's you're thinking of the Rodney Dangerfield podcast that you're
yeah. All right.
and we're talking about other topics other than Rodney Dangerfield.
If you
Right.
do show this to your kids, right? They wouldn't appreciate how big of a deal Rodney Dangerfield
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
Right?
Huge.
Murray was on Saturday Night Live. Nobody really knew him, but knew him, but nobody
Yeah.
knew he was going to take off. But
Yeah.
Dangerfield up to this was huge. All the fixing my tie, and no
Yep.
respect.
No respect.
I mean, he was, and we were, because of the age we were, we just thought that was the funniest thing
Yeah.
ever. And
Right.
but I can't argue with picking him for the name of the word.
Yeah. So after further review, our category were things that we didn't notice upon second kind of rewatching. It's now the name of our podcast. So things we noticed on the rewatch. I'll actually start on this one. Actually, is the thing that I think about is that Ty Webb choked. That's why he was playing golf that night, because now they're keeping score. He has all this pressure now. He's golfing at night, and then he choked on the final hole.
So I gave that a lot of thought, because
Mm.
I remember when I was watching it, I thought, wait a second, this guy shot a 68, and he's putting, he's hitting
Yeah.
approach shots to the green blindfolded, 2 feet
Yeah.
from the pin. He's
Yeah.
putting, whether it's behind his back, whether it's between his legs, and he's sinking everything. And then all of a sudden he chokes in this match.
Yeah.
But you're right. He's this pseudo Zen Buddhist guy, right?
Right.
Doesn't keep score. He's always
Yeah.
says, I never keep score. And the judge goes, well, how do you measure yourself against other golfers? Right? But then he says, what, are you religious or something? He goes, yes. And it's precisely because of that. He doesn't compete. It's just, he's like me, goes out and plays golf by himself most of the time. And all of a sudden you put him in a competitive match. Not that I can play well by myself. I suck whether I'm playing by myself or with somebody else. But all of a sudden you put him in this situation, and that's why he chokes, is because he's just not used to that. However, I'll come back to that on Stadium Gripes.
Okay. Ken, what did you notice?
I had the same exact thing. I mean, he
Really?
plays this cool as can be character.
Yeah.
Nothing gets, you got $70,000 checks laying in his apartment. But when it really, the game is on the line or the putt is needed, he choked. And that's, I never realized that the first time. And then all the little times I picked it up here and there until I watched it a couple of nights ago and said, wow, he just choked.
Yeah.
So,
but Mark nailed it. It's because the pressure was on, and he just wasn't competing. And I actually thought that was this understated part of the movie. Probably one of the coolest things about the movie that was understated is that you let off the podcast, the quotes that he gave, right? Those are quotes from him about a Danish without a hole is or donut without a hole is a Danish, and flute without holes is what was it?
A flute without a hole.
We just did it.
I'm sorry. But anyway, he's always spitting out. And even when he's
Danny, the ball,
all these, these Zen, and his house. Remember, his house is decorated. She comes in and she smacks the thing and she says, who does your decorating? Benihana?
Yeah.
Everything is in this feng shui kind of thing. And that's the way he lives.
Yeah.
And when the game is on, when there's actually something on the line that he has to live up to it, he absolutely chokes. And I thought that was incredibly subtle and misunderstood by a lot of people. And I'm so glad you picked that up.
Yeah.
Because that's the way I looked at it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so moving on to Stadium Gripes.
Oh wait, I got
something else.
Other further review.
Okay.
So so I'm not a country. I never grew up in a country club. But now as being older, I've been to a couple low key, very, very low key kind of, never been to a nice country club. They're pulling in, they're going in one time, and some woman on horseback comes riding around, out, and she's like going out on a run on a horseback. This is a golf country club. I've never seen a horse at a golf country club. I was like, what the hell is going on here? What kind of club is this?
Yeah. Right. It's like two sports merging.
Right.
Equestrian
jumping over the sand traps.
But the other, again, I'll just go about how great Ted Knight is. That to me was just, after watching it the 2 times this time, but after seeing it so many times, how much I loved it. I had forgotten how many quotes from this movie that I use, right, and have continued to use, but used throughout my life. And then there was this other one where he's talking about going to college, and he says, Nebraska is $8,000.
Yeah, right.
$8,000.
Does that sound about right? What you've been paying for college, your tuition for your children?
It's not even room and board for
Plus
6
or
Yeah,
months.
minus.
right.
Hey, the world needs ditch diggers. as well.
Big tickets, right?
Yeah. Anything else?
No, sorry.
When Lou at the end, he's watching is the ball going to go in the hole? Meanwhile, the whole course
It's
is
exploding.
exploding.
Yep.
And apparently, he's just watching the ball like, shouldn't you be a little concerned? And apparently when they filmed it, it was close to the Fort Lauderdale airport and they thought a plane had
I
crashed.
read
Yeah.
that.
Yep. With the flames and the hole in
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. Yeah. All right. So stadium gripes. What do you guys got?
I have the whole Maggie's pregnancy, the convenient part of that story. You drop it in,
Yeah.
she's pregnant, she's all upset. The next time he sees it, oh, I'm fine. And it was just weird. And he just dropped it in as a convenient little, part of the movie, which that always bothered me.
Well, what I don't understand either, and this is also after further review, but a stadium gripe is when she finds out she's not pregnant. You remember when she tells him?
Yeah.
On the golf course at night.
Yeah.
She's in a nightgown.
Man gone. Yeah.
Does she live on a golf course? Like, is she sleeping in a caddy shack? Like, where the hell does she come from? And he happens to be standing there.
Yeah.
She comes in and he goes, Maggie? And she's dancing.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, where the hell did she come from?
Right. She has an apartment. Why is she not back there? Right. Yeah. It's very odd.
Maybe she does. Maybe the apartment's maybe it's such a fancy golf course that they have caddy apartments on the golf course.
Yeah, they live on site.
Well, he sleeps on a bench after
That one night,
that night.
That was that one night.
Yeah.
Do you blame him after seeing what his house looks like in the morning? I'd sleep on a bench too.
Oh, it's also because he was almost murdered by the
Murdered by Judge Smales, right? Any other gripes?
Oh, I
How
got
about the boat scene? Was that a little long?
Yeah. It was
I was like,
that was totally done.
we kind of got it, guys.
And it does end well with the you scratch my anchor,
There you go.
Yeah.
So here's mine. So Ted Knight drives a Rolls Royce. A Rolls Royce, right?
Right.
The Ty, who belongs there, is like this incredibly wealthy guy with $70,000 checks
Right.
all over the place, which is also another stadium gripe. But the golf course is a piece of shit. I mean, it is this, and that I noticed in the first time, not even knowing anything about golf. This course, I grew up in this town after we left Philadelphia. When this movie came out, there was an 18-hole dirt track that we would play once or twice a year. If I could scrape up the $9 to play it, and that looked better than this place. I mean, this thing was an absolute, and the pool, right? You've got a guy driving a Rolls Royce. First, that's another gripe. Does a judge make that much money that he can afford a Rolls Royce? But he's driving a Rolls Royce, and his country club has a pool that looked like my grandmother's pool in her backyard. I mean, it's
got a high dive.
Yeah.
My grandmother's pool wasn't that big, but it was the exact same style, just this rectangular.
Yeah.
Could have been in anybody's backyard.
Well, when you hire Carl Spanger as your keeper, your greens are not going to be in great shape, right? That does bring up another gripe, is that why did they have this high dive at this country club, this Olympic level high dive?
So
if you jumped out really far, you'd hit the other end of the pool. I mean, you'd be in the shallow end. That thing was. But I did going back to the whole thing about Ty choking, right? So he's got $70,000. So maybe I answered it with the whole Zen Buddhist kind of thing.
Yeah.
But he has these, she says, oh, here's a check for $70,000. Oh, there's a bunch of them. And he says, hey, you want it? Yet in a match where he's playing for $20,000, right? They're each playing for $20,000,
Right.
$40,000 a team, each putting in 20.
Yeah.
He's like choking, but
Yeah,
he's got
right.
350 grand in uncashed checks laying around his.
Yeah.
So I just,
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of
And
silly.
then
Do
he
you think it's
says
the
to,
mo- Go ahead, Mark.
and then he says to Danny, and Danny has to make the putt to save it. He said, "Hey, it's just $40,000, no pressure. You miss it, we lose." Right? So not only is he not, to your point, taking on the pressure, he's putting it on poor Danny.
Yeah.
I just wonder if
it's a
maybe
good
it
point.
wasn't about the money. It was just being in the position to make that putt.
No,
And he choked it back.
that's exactly,
Yeah.
that's exactly what it
It
is.
could have
But
been
it was
40,000, 4,000, 400,000. It wasn't the money to him. It was just he
but
had
it
to
would
make
be
the putt.
like us choking because we're playing for $20. It
Right.
just,
Yeah.
that part
Exactly.
is a little, but no, it is. It's because of he just was not the guy that ever competed.
Anything else? Okay. So sideline fantasies, this is our kind of, casting choices, notes from the casting couch. Do you guys have anything? I have one, two maybe to mention.
Go ahead, lead us off.
You got
Mickey Rourke
Yeah, okay. I knew you were going
was the leading contender for Danny. That would have been a much different movie for sure. The other one, this is related to this, or not related to this, but it is interesting to me, and I think to you, Eric. Pink Floyd. They asked
Yeah.
Pink Floyd to do the music, and so
Yeah.
Kenny.
that's I had those two.
Yep.
Which is interesting because I don't know how you guys feel about the Kenny Loggins song, but that wasn't written for the movie, right? I read that was for just he was going to release it, and so then they put it into the movie. If that wasn't associated with this movie, would that song just first song's kind of stupid anyway, but I just think that would be it would have gone off into a nobody ever would have heard it, right?
Right.
Granted,
Yeah.
movies can make a song, but that's like a really dumb song that became so popular just because of this
Yeah.
movie.
Yes.
And by the way, Mickey Rourke, a few years later, he made Diner. Did you guys ever see Diner?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Great
For
movie.
sure. Oh yeah.
I mean, before he got all steroided up and had all the plastic surgery, he was like a stud. He was in
Yeah.
9.5 weeks too, I think. Was he in 9.5 weeks?
Yes,
Yeah.
he was.
Yeah, he was a stud. So yeah, to your point, being a different movie, him picking up Lacey Underall would not be a real stretch,
Yeah.
like, he really was a good looking guy. It would have been like,
Right.
he might have like just brushed her off because he was, he
Yeah.
had so many women around him, but
But yeah, it's hard because you think of Mickey Rourke now, but you're right, Eric. You think of him even before that was, Pope of Greenwich Village when he was a young, good looking. So, I could see him in 1980, 1979, Mickey Rourke playing that part. We look at him, like you said, the puffed up, plastic surgery ruined face that he is. But, I could, it is weird when you hear it, but if you think about it, that Mickey Rourke, he could have did a good job with that part.
oh, he would have been great, but it's
Yeah.
just my point is like he hadn't been discovered. I was looking at his IMDb before this. He really didn't have a whole lot, but you know where he was a few years later with Diner and Pope of Greenwich Village. He was a stud, and just Danny Noonan is not a stud. So
Right.
good
Yeah.
golfer, but not a stud.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Mickey Rourke movie. If you guys have never seen it, Angel Heart. You ever
The
see it?
best.
Yes.
The best.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Great movie.
It's very.
Everybody
De
watch
Niro's
this.
in that. Yeah.
Yeah, have to watch.
Okay.
Angel Heart.
Just a little aside, because it just came up the other night.
Is this a Sarah
And-
Cole Holcomb or
No, this is nothing.
anecdote or?
Maybe it should be for after, but you got to watch the movie, the show, Billions, because they do this every time. There are movie references throughout the 7 seasons that are incredible. And Angel Heart was a big one the other night. That's what made me think of it. So
Oh, is that right?
yeah,
Hmm.
that's why when you said Angel, I said, wait, who was just talking about Angel Heart? And it was in Billions the other night. So
I've had to watch that movie so many times to kind of pick up the like to follow. Like the twist at the end, but like
Yeah.
trying to follow it all the way through where certain things are kind of going. Anyway, that's another
That's
movie.
yeah, another movie,
Yeah.
another time.
Yeah.
Don Rickles was supposed to play Al Cervic.
Al,
Yeah.
yep.
Was Al Cervic supposed to be cervix? Like, is that like a play on cervix? My wife
Yeah.
has.
I did not think about that, but
Me
you're
neither.
evolved.
Really?
and
When
it's-
his roommate's name in
Yeah.
college was Mitch Kumsky.
Lacy
Yeah.
underalls, we thought
Lacey
was
Underall.
hysterical.
Yeah.
But
There were
Al
some
Cervic,
interesting
that's a little
names.
too above us picking
For
that up.
sure. Sarah Holcomb, Ken, who played Maggie, was supposed to be Lacey Underall. Because
I
she
didn't know
was,
that.
she was,
Oh no, really?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that would have really sucked. She looks like a boy.
Now, remember we were talking about how you were evolved person?
Yeah.
No, I mean, when she's sitting there by the pool, right?
Right, right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
When
She's got
Lacey walked by.
yeah, but she's got
Right.
the numbered, like that shirt we all used to wear, like 23 on it or whatever. She looked like Noonan and but now she's gonna play this bombshell that no way. It was
Right.
like,
No.
Yeah, she
No.
was looking down at her chest as Lacey walked by, just like, I don't know.
yeah, yeah.
Anything else?
No.
Okay. So
I might,
extra
I might have just gotten canceled on the second podcast.
you're gonna have to have like a warning, like a watch out. Extra innings. Anything else we want to add before we talk wrap it up with the GOAT? Is this I guess I mentioned you guys, is this a great comedy or a great sports movie?
No. I
No,
think it's
no.
a good comedy. It's a funny
Okay.
movie. I wouldn't use the term great.
Mhm.
And even with sports movies, I think it's a good sports movie. It's good for golf. There are a lot better golf movies than this. And so I do think it's a good movie, but I wouldn't term great for either sports or a comedy.
Okay. Can't.
Yeah, I
Eric?
kind of agree. I think it's again, going back to it, it's amazing to me. It's a movie of one-liners.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
what it is. And all those one-liners have managed their way into our vernacular. And so I give it that, right? I think Didinger McNeil nailed it, is that for men, there probably is no other movie. For me, maybe Jaws, or so many lines in Jaws I quote, but there are, and I don't mean quote, like I use them in just day-to-day life.
Yeah. Right.
There is no other movie that, lines you pull out, just one-liners, just certain things that you say than this movie, other than maybe The Godfather. And, so I give it that, but no, even as a sports movie, yeah, Ken, I'm with you. I mean, Tin Cup is a
Oh, I love
Yeah.
that. Full
golf
term. Yeah.
this,
Yeah. No.
and sports movies. That's what I'm saying. Number 9 of sports movies that these guys gave.
Insane.
It just shocks me, just absolutely. Like, I can understand they're both from Philadelphia. No, well, McNeil's from Buffalo, but he's been in Philly for 35 years. Dinger's from Philly.
Oh my God. I
I
can't
can-
take, he went from Buffalo to Philadelphia.
As a
We
sports
shouldn't take
writer back
anything he says
35,
seriously.
40 years ago. Yeah. But
Are you surprised that someone would leave Buffalo?
And head to Philadelphia.
Sunny
yeah, right.
climes.
If you're gonna leave Buffalo, you don't go to
Yeah,
Philadelphia.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Ron
That's
McDermott left Philadelphia to go to Buffalo, but that's
right. Yeah. Yeah. No.
I will. There is one other thing on the anything else, and maybe this is stadium gripes, but it really did. I was watching it, and then I went back, and when I watch it again, and then I went back and watched the scene, and I wrote everything down. Right, so the whole Bill Murray Cinderella story.
Yeah.
And
Oh, I know what you're gonna
his
say.
dad lived, and he's making it up, right?
Yeah.
And he starts out and he says, for anybody who hasn't seen it, right? He's the Cinderella story, groundskeeper at the Masters, came out of nowhere. He's on the 18th hole. He lines it up. He's got 455 yards of the hole. He takes out a 2-iron. and he swings, and Murray's got a great swing, right? And he swings, he cuts the plant off, and he says, "Oh, we got that one." And, and it's he says, "All right." He lines up his next shot. He's about 350 yards away. Takes out a five. I'm like, he hit a 2-iron 105 yards.
Yeah, no.
And he got all of it.
And then he goes with the 5-iron. He says, "All right, he's 350 yards out. He's going to pull out a 5-iron."
Yeah.
He goes, "Oh, he got all that." That's when he says he got all that one. And then he goes, third shot, he's got 195 yards. I'm like, wait a second.
8-iron. Right?
150. He hit his 5-iron 155 yards. Now, I
Right.
can't hit a 5-iron, but I can certainly hit my 6 or 7 155 yards on a good day. I'm thinking, and this kid's gonna, and then he's 195 out and he pulls out an 8-iron.
8-iron. Yep.
I just always thought that was just kind of
right. The math doesn't make
The
sense,
math
even
don't
to a
work.
non-golfer, right?
But then when you realize that he made it up on the spot, I give him
right, yeah,
credit. It wasn't written in the script, because if somebody
Yeah.
wrote that down, man, they were
yeah,
good.
yeah. No, it was really, really good. Yeah. All right, the GOAT. Who stands out in the movie? I think I know what you're gonna say.
You
Eric.
go,
So
Mark.
yeah.
Go ahead.
We go.
So I am actually gonna go off script a little bit, in the sense maybe this is actually would be better to the Tom Brady Award, but these are the movies that this person co-wrote. Yeah, here it is.
That's a good
Harold
one.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this a little bit. He either directed, co-wrote, or acted in Animal House, Caddyshack, Vacation, Stripes, Ghostbusters, Groundhog Day, and Analyze That. Like, I know this is his first movie. It was uneven, but there's just something about that resume that's kind of starting here. I guess this is more a Tom Brady kind of
Yeah, so
award.
lifetime achievement. You're giving him a lifetime
Yeah,
achievement award
yeah.
for the who won the
Yeah,
movie.
right. Yeah. I don't know. It's just
I think
it's
that
so-
is a Tom Brady award.
that is more of a Tom Brady.
But I
Yeah.
like where you didn't even mention who it is, though.
Yeah, Harold Ramis. So he directed,
Remember,
Wrote,
we know
co-wrote,
this, but there are people
acted.
that are going to watch this that may not.
Right.
They can't read your mind.
No,
really.
they
That's
could be
that's
thinking.
not
They were probably thinking Bill Murray or something. Some people.
yes. So thank you for that note.
It's called in-game editing.
Yeah. So yeah, that is more of a Tom. So the GOAT is to me is Chevy Chase, is Ty. It's like he stands out there. So what do you two think?
Ken, who do you got?
Yeah. Sarah Holcomb?
No. I'm going, okay, because you said for me, I'm going to go a little bit different. You know where it's going. Rodney Dangerfield. I love Rodney.
Yeah.
I'm going Rodney won the movie for me.
We clearly understand your sense of humor, Ken.
This place
Stupid
sucks.
one-liners will win you all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
About bathrooms and bathroom jokes and
That's my guy.
listen, I agree.
Yeah.
I do like the I like where you're going with Harold Ramis, because I think he was when you go back, because again, a lot of people don't probably even know who he is. And I think he was completely underrated throughout his career. But when you go back and look at the body of work, I mean, it really is amazingly impressive for us guys in our generation that just appreciate the stuff he did. I thought he was great.
Yeah.
And you can't argue with Dangerfield either, because, without him in a movie, it's probably, it isn't the same movie. That was one of the casting couch, not the casting couch. Was it with,
Sideline Fantasy is what we're
Sideline
calling it.
Fantasy?
Yeah.
Don Rickles was supposed to play him.
Right.
And Rick, I could see Rickles doing it, but Dangerfield just had that goofiness that Rickles does not. Rickles was always just the guy that insulted everybody, but
Exactly.
Dangerfield did it in such a, God, he was so funny. And the eyeballs, with his big
Yeah.
eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. The physical aspect.
Ken, you know who he reminds me of, by the way, when I was watching that? Ray Urbanski. And Ray, if you're ever watching this, you don't
Oh,
look
yeah.
like Dangerfield, but you always do that. You make a one-liner, you kind of
And
roll
you
your
get that
eyes
look.
like that
Yep.
way. You get this look of just kind of, whoa, looks good on you, like that. But for
Oh,
me,
Lord.
the GOAT was again. I keep going back to Ted Knight. I
At
just
night. Yep.
he was amazing, and I did not appreciate that
Mm.
when I first watched it, and then when I was watching it this time, just how damn funny he is. He's just and all of his lines were supposed to be, somebody saying them seriously,
Mm.
and he was just he was great.
Yeah.
I do like.
I
I do like
really
him.
was.
I think he was really good in the movie. I love him. Ted Baxter and Mary Tyler Moore. I mean, that's a great. I mean, that's an iconic part on television.
Ken, that was how I know him, and I was never. My parents used to watch Mary Tyler Moore, and for our kids that are watching this, they don't understand. There might have been 6 channels on the TV at that time, 3 on UHF and 3 on
Yep.
VH. And so on Sunday nights, you're watching Mary Tyler Moore, and I never really appreciated the Ted Baxter character. I didn't. I would like to go back now and watch Mary Tyler Moore and watch him, because he was just in this movie, he just nails it.
That's a show that stands up. You can go back and watch that now.
Does it?
And oh my God, I love that show. I'll go back and watch that whenever I do, see it on. And it does. There's some shows you go back, like All in the Family was a great show, but it's you're watching it a whole different way these days.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Mary Tyler Moore, the whole, Ed Asner and her and Ted Knight and Gavin McLeod. I mean, they were great actors in that and great writers, and it does definitely hold up.
Yeah. I had to
What
give
channel
it.
do you get that on? Yeah.
It's like Me TV or Nickelodeon. I don't know. It's on a cable. We do have, down here in the lower
Yeah.
48, we do have
Right.
like
Yeah.
cable all night and
Yeah.
stuff. I know up there in the
Yeah.
hinterlands of Canada with the caribou, you might just
Right.
have like,
Yeah.
climb
Yeah.
up a telephone pole to get TV.
It is important to point out, just so everybody knows, Mark's up in Saskatchewan, Canada.
Yeah.
Ken's in Fort North, Jersey, just outside of New York, and I'm outside Philadelphia.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Technology is awesome that we can do this.
Yeah. Yeah. All
I
right.
know
So
there was a
wrap
lot
up.
of I know there were a lot of people wondering where I came from, so it might not have been clear from the accent. So
Michigan sweatshirt.
I have
Yeah, that
Michigan
was
sweat. Yeah,
Michigan. Yeah,
that's true.
exactly. Ann Arbor. I was
Ann
guessing
Arbor.
Ann Arbor. Yeah,
In fact,
exactly.
I'm the only one out of the 3 of us that lived in Michigan at one point. I lived in Ann
That's
Arbor.
true. That's right.
I was a DM in Ann Arbor. In fact, Ken, I was there when it was I went to the first game that season against Notre Dame, and they could not decide who the starting quarterback was. It was a talk on the local radio stations all week. Drew Henson or Tom Brady. And
Yep,
it's Tom Brady's senior year. And I go to the game, and Brady ends up, he doesn't play the whole game, because I'm not sure he started that game. It may have been Henson, but they definitely platooned him throughout the game, and then Brady won the starting job. And who knew that I was seeing greatness right then and there.
Right there.
Right.
You were there from the beginning.
There
Yeah.
from the beginning.
Yeah.
Before the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. And did that lead to you supporting the Patriots, or I can't remember? It's sort of unclear to me. You were so wishy-washy about the Patriots, kind of where you stood. You were a fan of Brady at the end, for sure.
I was. You gotta appreciate greatness.
Yeah. No.
All right. So if we put you on the spot this week, and then we have, Super Bowl is this weekend.
Oh yeah.
I know Eric is boycotting the Super Bowl from the last I heard. He's not. Make a pick. Who do you think? Just no spread, nothing. Who wins the Super Bowl? Mark? I'll let Eric think about it.
So I am rooting for San Francisco. And so I was giving them a reverse hex this morning. I was telling my wife all the reasons why Kansas City will win, because of the Patrick Mahomes and a good defense and well coached. I have actually, this is also a Notre Dame. I have always had San Francisco as sort of second team because of Joe Montana, because of when I growing up in Saskatchewan/Maine, we did not have a college team. So as a Catholic, I started following Notre Dame, and Joe Montana was there. So
There you
I
go.
secretly or secondarily root for San Francisco all these years.
So are they winning or are they losing? You didn't answer the question.
I'm hoping they're going to win. I think
Who do you
Kansas
think
City's
so?
going to. I think Kansas City's going to win.
What do you got, Ken?
I'm going out. San Francisco's going to win this game. It's going to surprise people. Brock Purdy is
Why
going
do
to
you think
have.
that is? Yeah.
Brock Purdy's going to have the game of his life. MVP is
Oh, you want to do some prop bets too?
Yeah.
Or-
is Taylor Swift and
It's
Travis
another
Kelce and them.
podcast that you're. Who's the MVP? I'm sorry.
What's his name? He was on my
Caffrey?
fantasy. Kittle.
Oh, Kittle.
Yeah.
I think if it's an MVPs on San Francisco, it's going to be McCaffrey. It will be McCaffrey, but
Yeah.
I can't stand either team. The Chiefs, literally, the refs stole the Super Bowl last year from the Eagles, stole it. But I'm not bitter. I'm not bitter.
No, you seem like the counseling is really done.
Still can't bring myself to watch a replay of that Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And San Francisco crushed us this year. It started our slide to where we just became the worst team in the NFL. And
You are talking to Jets and Patriots fans when you say you have the worst team in the NFL.
Yeah.
no, either one of your teams in the last that playoff game, if either of your teams were in there, it's some miracle or they just put them out there that time of the year. 31 other teams in the NFL would have beaten the Eagles. They were that bad at the end of the year. But I usually root for the underdog, and the Brock Purdy story should be something that I cheer for.
Yeah.
For some reason, I can't get behind it. I am so sick of seeing Mahomes and Kelsey on TV, although I love Kelsey's brother, obviously.
Yeah.
But there is something about being able to watch greatness in the moment and to be able to, when I'm 90, well, I won't live that long, but when I'm 80 something years old and to say,
70s.
I remember watching, tell my grandchildren, you wouldn't have believed what it was like to watch Patrick Mahomes play, and the Kansas City Chiefs were just so dominant year in, year out. Like so I think Kansas City's going to win that game.
Would you say the same thing about watching New England? Would you tell your grandkids about watching New England that way?
No, I've told Mark this. I
you.
couldn't stand New England, right? But
I know.
at the
Yes,
end,
I heard that.
about a million times.
Yeah.
At the end, that game against Atlanta, that Super Bowl against Atlanta, when they were down
27-3.
28-3.
28-3.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you see a little, like, this game's over. And then there's a flash. I start rooting I want to see the comeback, right? I want to see it. And then when Brady went to Tampa, I wanted him to win because I wanted to see, just to prove that it really was him, and also to show that Belichick, great defensive mind, but without Brady, he is absolutely nothing. So, because he is the biggest
Nothing.
in the can't even get a job in the NFL now, Mark.
I don't think I'd want to work for Atlanta.
They've cracked down on all his ability to cheat. So, but I think it'll be San Francisco.
Yeah. No.
I'm sorry, Kansas City. The vodka's got
the vodka's dark. Yeah,
So
I think it's interesting. You said, do you think that I think there's still another level that Kansas City has to go? I guess 2 out of 3, is the beginning of it. But
this kid has been a starter for 5 years, and this is his 4th Super Bowl. I'm not sure Brady was in that league yet. I mean, this is unbelievable what he's doing. And he has no wide receivers.
Yeah, it really is amazing.
And he's got the greatest tight end ever. And he's got, arguably, after he learned all his mistakes in Philadelphia, he's got one of the best offensive minds in Andy Reid. Talk about Ty Webb and choking. Andy Reid in Philadelphia was Ty, regular season, he'd win everything. Put him in the
Right.
playoffs, and a guy choked in Philadelphia, but then he
Well, he
figured
couldn't
it out in Kansas City.
And it happened at the beginning of in Kansas City. He couldn't keep. That's what Bill Simmons was always talking about, his clock management.
Oh no, it was
Oh, yeah.
so bad in Philadelphia. And then those first few years in Kansas City, when they got into the playoffs, and he just choked, and they had a lead, and they blew it because he did clock management, and he didn't have timeouts at the end. He was a joke. Somehow he figures it out, and all of a sudden, 4 of the last 5 Super Bowls, the guy's been in them. I mean, it just it's mind-boggling.
Yeah. No,
Well, it's not mind-boggling. It's infuriating.
Yeah, it's aggravating, right?
Angry, and it makes me angry.
I think we want to freeze the look on Mark's face when you said that, what's his name is Kelsey's the greatest tight end of all time. I saw the look on his face.
Oh, that's right. He likes Aaron Hernandez.
Yeah. Good one.
I don't know if Travis Kelce is in Rob Gronkowski's league, considering Gronkowski was just as good a wide receiver, and he was like a fantastic blocker, like amazing. So
I will tell you that the only Patriot that I ever liked while he was in a Patriots uniform was Gronk. I liked him from the time he played. I loved him in Tampa Bay, and I love him in retirement. Gronk is he's a man baby, and I love the guy. And I can't argue with that. He was an awesome tight end.
Yeah, amazing. And a smart guy, apparently. He's doing a lot of
Yeah.
Really? Yeah.
No, he's smart with his money, that's for sure.
Yeah, I know. He banks everything, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. So I think that's a wrap for another episode of
Another 2-hour episode.
No, I was like, there's no way we can talk about this for more than 45 minutes.
Exactly.
What the hell? What do you think it's going to be? I'm like, oh my God, if this goes 50 minutes, I'd be shocked.
So next
On
month,
the show, we can talk about anything. Sorry, Mark.
yeah, no, next month, March birthday boy, Quentin Tarantino, right?
Yep.
Have we decided which one?
I think I know where Eric. Well, I'm happy with Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, either
I like
one.
Reservoir Dogs.
I'll go Reservoir Dogs.
Sounds
Just for
good.
stuck in the middle with you. Just that scene. So I can watch that again.
You're blowing them.
Oh, yeah.
You're giving it away.
It's called the tease.
Say something.
Yeah. All right, Reservoir Dogs. It is.
Story of my life.
All
No
right.
self-control.
And
That's
scene.
it?
Yeah.
All right, Gary. See you, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
God bless.
So long.
Yeah. Rodney Dangerfield fan club says goodbye.